What's up, guys? My name's Loverfella, and welcome back to LoverCast. Now, today we're going to talk about something pretty interesting. We're going to talk about charisma, but I'm also going to be working to release one of these episodes every single week. I know that was my original goal in 2019, and already 4 months in, I'm kind of struggling on this a little bit. So I'm going to reprioritize this, try to make it more important, because I know a lot of you are getting some value from this, and I want to make sure that I keep delivering this on a weekly basis so that you can keep improving your life. But also because this helps me, because I have to research these things and it helps me learn and grow as well. So today we're talking about charisma, and this is something that if you don't study, you're making a big mistake, because this is arguably one of the most important skills you could have. If you look at people that are successful in companies, it's often not the smartest people, it's the people that are the best at influencing others. So you might be a genius in school and you might have straight A's, but once you get out of school, there's a good chance you're not going to be that successful if you don't know how to work with people and understand how other people think and how to really step into other people's shoes. You have to learn how to deal with all kinds of personalities, people that are aggressive and rude and mean, people that are negative, people that don't care about you. And when you learn to deal with these types of things, it really gives you a huge amount of power over people that don't practice this. But before I get into this, I want to tell you guys something interesting from a book I read called The Charisma Myth. And as always, guys, you can get these books on my website, loverfella.com. But The Charisma Myth is all about charisma, but it gives you a warning before the book starts. And the warning is that charisma was actually not taught for a long time because people had a very bad impression of charisma. Because Stalin and Hitler and these crazy, horrible rulers were actually some of the most charismatic people in the world. And they're examples of what you could do with charisma if you have a bad mindset. You can influence people to do crazy, terrible things like almost destroy an entire race of people, all because of how charismatic Hitler was. And I know it's weird to think, like, is Hitler really charismatic? But how do you think he got to the point that he could influence these people and make this kind of stuff happen? He got there because he was extremely charismatic with everyone around him. People that knew him closely said he was actually really nice. So I'm not saying, to them, he's very charismatic, very influential. I'm not saying be like him, but I'm saying this was a topic that was kind of weird for a while. People didn't want to teach it because they didn't want people to turn out like Hitler and influence the world. But then there's also a good side to it. If you're really good at being charismatic, you can make some great impressions on the world. You can change the world for the better just as much as he changed the world for the worst. So we're going to go over this book, kind of break it down for you guys, and hopefully make you think a little bit more about how you're being charismatic, how you can improve on it, because it is a skill. It's not something that you're born with. It's something that you can get better at over time. So charisma starts with your appearance. It starts with how you look. When you first shake someone's hand, if you have a wet noodle, limp handshake, or your hands are all clammy and wet and gross, that subconsciously tells people that you're probably not that confident. And you're walking around wearing clothes that are too baggy and don't fit. If you have a lot of extra weight on your body, you're fat. If you don't take care of how you look, you just let your beard grow and you don't trim it. If you don't take care of yourself physically, you're actually leaving a pretty big impression on people all around you, and that's a very bad impression. People don't trust you as much. They won't think that you're someone that they can work with. They won't think there's someone you want to be friends with. So some people don't really care. They're like, I don't care. I look how I look, and this is how I look. But you got to put effort into it because their first impression is huge. The reason it's huge is because people don't like being wrong. I don't like being wrong. You don't like being wrong. So when I look at someone, and my first impression is, this guy is a total loser because he's not wearing clothes that fit and he doesn't shave and he smells bad. He's just a loser. From that point on, everything that he does will reassure that in my mind. So if he does something kind of weird, I'm going to be like, yep, he's a loser. I knew it, because I want to prove myself right. I want my first impression to be correct. And it's actually rare for people to change their first impression because that's admitting that they were wrong. And people don't like doing that. So your first impression has a huge impact on how you view people, but also how they view you. So even to get to the point where you can start practicing charisma, you need to make sure that you look good. Lose that weight. Get that haircut nice. Clothes that fit. Make a good, confident first impression. Extremely important if you want to even have a chance at being charismatic. So then you can get into the specifics. If you're trying to communicate with charisma, you're looking good. You want to start mirroring how the people act. So you want to start copying their hand movements, copying their gestures. If they cross a leg, you cross that same leg. If they move their arm up, you move their arm up when you talk. If they're really emotional and vibrant with their arm movements, you do the same thing. If they're calm and collected and quiet, you do the same thing. If you mirror them, it actually allows them to feel very similar to you. They assume you're going to share a similar social background, a similar education, and even similar values just based on the fact that you're copying how they move and how they look. So this is kind of weird, and you really have to think about this, but after a couple months of practice, you just comes naturally. As you're talking to people, you can change yourself to match how they are, and that is where And then you just really want to focus your conversations on them. Ask them questions, all right? People love talking about themselves. You'll have your chance, all right? But when you're talking to people, make sure you give them plenty of opportunities to talk. If you're going on a date with someone, you shouldn't be telling them all about you. You should be asking them, what's your favorite food? Where's your favorite trip? Like, really dig into them. Make them tell you stories. Eventually, they'll ask you something, but here's what I don't want you to do. One of the worst things people do is someone tells a story, all right? I'm out with friends. They're like, oh my gosh, last week I saw this pig. It was so cool. It did a flip. And then instead of asking, oh, that's cool, like egging them on for more, people say, oh, well, actually 2 years ago I saw a pig and it did 2 flips. Okay, you just went up to them. That's stupid. No one cares and no one asked you. So don't be that guy. If they tell you a story, even if you think of a great story that's 10 times better, no one cares unless they ask. So ask them more. That is going to make them feel so good. And something I noticed is when you ask people questions like this, they don't even realize you're doing it because they're talking and talking and talking, and people love to talk about themselves. They don't realize you're not saying anything. And so you might walk away having said 10% of the words in this conversation. Like, you felt like you said nothing, but they're going to walk away feeling like you are a great conversationalist and like that was an excellent conversation. So get them talking, keep the conversation focused on them. Once you're done talking, leave. Don't drag out the exit. You're done talking, your date's over. Don't drag it out. Oh no, you hang up first. No, none of that. Your conversation's done. You leave, you move on to the next conversation. Keep it as long as it needs to be. Don't drag it on just because you want to drag it on. I think it's important to understand in business settings especially. People are busy. People have a lot to do, and so you don't want to waste their time. When you're communicating with someone, you need to focus on providing entertainment, information, and good feelings. The way you speak, your pitch, tone, the tempo, they're all important to what you're saying, and it determines how people are going to take it in. So these are some specific verbal and vocal techniques for projecting each of these 3 elements in charisma, things that'll help you. So for presence, you want to listen well. Do not ever interrupt people, all right? Do not be the guy who interrupts, ever. Let them interrupt you, but do not ever interrupt them. A quote from the book says, good listeners know never, ever interrupt, not even if the impulse to do so comes from excitement about something the other person just said. No matter how congratulatory and warm your input, it will always be the result in their feeling at least a twinge of resentment or frustration and not having been allowed to complete their sentence. So pause for 2 seconds before you speak. Never, ever, ever interrupt. And guaranteed, people will interrupt you, but let it happen. Don't stop them. People do it because they don't understand how to be charismatic. Let them do it. It makes them feel good, but you should not do it. In order to be warm, you need to know how to make people feel good. Make them happy. Tell them what they want to hear, but don't tell them lies. All right? If someone looks good and they love their shirt, you love their makeup, tell them. Be honest. This makes you warm. Don't make people feel bad or wrong. All right? Don't make them feel wrong. You can tell someone they're wrong without making them feel wrong. You can teach it or experience it as a learning lesson. Don't make people feel bad. Make them feel valued, and more importantly than all of this is just come across as a powerful person. You want to speak concisely. Reduce how quickly and how often you nod. Don't just nod at people, all right? Don't do that. Do it slower. Use pictures, use metaphors, and just speak with a slow, measured tempo. Speak with pauses. Don't stop. Don't speak too quickly. Drop your voice at the end. Don't ever let your voice go up. A big mistake I see people make all the time at work that definitely takes away from their charisma and especially the confidence that I have in them is that when they're talking, they end all their sentences with an upwards inflection. So my boss says, hey, did you get that paper done? And they say, yeah, I got it done this morning. Instead of, yep, it was done this morning. Think about that. Like, one of them's a question. Like, are you asking, did you get it done this morning? Or are you telling them, yes, I got it done? So end your sentences with a downward inflection like I am right now. You end your sentence down. You don't end it in a question. If I had this podcast and every sentence I was ending it like this, you'd be like, can we really trust Loverfella? Why is he asking all these questions? Sometimes I say things that aren't even questions and then my voice goes up and it's really weird. What's he doing? It's weird, guys. Don't do it. Studies have consistently shown that audience ratings of a lecture are actually more strongly influenced by delivery style than by content. So you can actually make your content interesting by just being interesting. Now, we're going to move on to the third part here of charisma, and that is the body language. Very, very important. Body language is one of the most important things when talking. Number one, mirror other people's body language. Very, very, very important. This type of thing can get you to get better deals with people, to have people buy your products, to have people even find you more attractive. Number two, always look in their eyes. In one study, complete strangers were asked to count the number of times the person across from them blinked. This was just a ploy to get these people to look deeply into each other's eyes without feeling the awkwardness that usually arises. Within just a few minutes, people reported increased affection, and some even had passionate feelings for the other. That is how powerful eye contact is. This is something that I use on a daily basis with people, especially if someone that I want to be attracted to me, I'm going to make laser eyesight with them. Focus on their pupil, like act as if you're trying to look right into their eye, like into their soul. So powerful, and they don't even realize you're doing it unless they're listening to this, in which case, kind of weird, but what's up, dudes? If you want to be powerful, use your body language to look like a big gorilla, be big. Be big, make your body big. Your physiology determines how you sound and how you look, so be big. Don't move unnecessarily and cut out verbal and nonverbal reassurances. Don't do this. Yeah? All right. Okay, sure. Yeah, I agree. None of that. Just listen, observe, and respond when it's your turn. Be confident. Don't fidget. Be present. Skill, and like any skill, guys, you're going to have to practice. So start talking with random strangers. When you're standing near people, see if there's something they're looking at or something on their body that you could comment on. Nice bracelet, nice shirt, I like your hair. Hey, I like that book. Just start a conversation. You're waiting in a coffee shop line, you make a small comment about pastries followed by some random question. I don't know. I'm trying to decide what I should eat, this cookie or the brownie. Have you had one? Like, just something stupid. No one cares. Just use it to practice and go into it with the mentality that you're going to mess up, you're going to look stupid, but you're going to come out with some charisma that can give you whatever you want in life. It's one of the most best, what am I saying? One of the greatest skills you could ever have, guys. It's huge. And a great way to really build this up and get better at charisma is to feel compassion for people. So try to imagine where they're coming from. This is something that I'm doing a lot and really struggling with because it's not easy. Imagine their past, all right? You see someone who's rude and aggressive. Why are they like that? Maybe they grew up in a family where they had to be like that in order to get attention. Maybe if they weren't rude and aggressive, they were forgotten about. And so that's how their parents, that's how they got their parents to show them that they existed, to get attention. Feel that, learn it, realize that their aggression or rudeness might not be because of you. It's likely due to something in their childhood or something else that's happened in the day. So don't take it personally. Feel what they feel. Try to get into their shoes. So I think that's one of the best things that you can do. But like we said earlier, guys, charisma can have some downsides. So if you're going to study it like I do, you need to be careful and make sure you have the right intents going in. Your intentions need to be to influence people in a good way. Well, you may or may not know this, but he was one of the most charismatic presidents ever. And they said during his tenure, he was known to go around asking everyone, from his chef to his janitor, for their opinion on foreign policy. Why would he ask them? He'd listen intimately, and in subsequent conversations, he'd refer back to the opinion they'd offer. So he'd ask this person, and then in a few weeks, he mentioned it again. When people feel like they've had a hand in making you, they feel a certain ownership of and identification with you, and therefore a certain responsibility for your success. Now that's a heck of a sentence, but let's break that down real quick. What that means is these people feel responsible for your success. How could you use that in your life? Let's say you really want me to help you make a YouTube channel, or let's say I want someone to help me. One way to make that happen is to make sure that I feel responsible for your success. LoverFella, I started a YouTube channel 5 years ago, 1 year ago, whatever. I'm up to 50,000 subscribers. You inspired me. I'm here because of you. I'm here because of your help. I want you to know that you deserve some of this success. I wouldn't be here without you. Thanks. Bye, Bob. To me, I get a message like that, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me. Like, I did this. I helped you get here. You studied, whatever. And it actually is a great way to get mentors to help you. So this is one example of hundreds of how you could use charisma to get what you want. Instead of using aggressive charisma, where you're basically ruling by fear, making people listen by fear, you can use charisma to get what you want in very friendly ways. People won't know what you're doing. People will enjoy being with you. You get invited out with friends all the time. It's just a really powerful thing to do. And this is a really high level overview, guys, of charisma. It's very basic. But what I would recommend for you is to read this book, to study charisma, and to make an effort to be better around everyone, around your parents, your siblings, your friends. Do not stop trying to be charismatic, because it's the one skill that everyone needs and that will make the biggest difference in your life, in your career, and in your relationships. Guys, thank you so much for watching LoverCast. If you have a request for a topic next week, leave a comment below. As always, check out the book on loverfella.com. I highly recommend you read it. See you guys tomorrow. See you guys next week. Spread the love. Peace.